All right. Where do I start? Alice Njambi is a very passionate individual.
Yes.
She is a fun-loving person. She loves reading. She loves dancing. She loves working out. Yes, I love working out.
Wow.
She's a mother of two, a teen who is turning 15 in 2 months, and a preteen who's turning 10 next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How is it parenting preteens and teenagers?
Let's just say we need the grace.
Yeah? So tell me, then who is Alice Njambi as the conscious life coach? How did you get into the journey of choosing and saying, I want to be the conscious life coach, not the love coach, not the mental coach, the conscious life coach? How did your journey begin for you to get to where you are?
Wow, very good question. My journey started all the way in 2017. And that was after a divorce. We separated with my ex-husband. And I was at that point where I was feeling so bitter,
What year was this again?
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was at that point where, I was just thinking, such things don't happen to people like me. Amazing how we always think negative things or bad things happen to other people, not to us.
Yeah.
And then I was in that space where I was so bitter. I was so angry. I was so frustrated. In fact, I love saying everything was just getting me annoyed, yeah. To the extent, perhaps a stranger would just pass, or even a fly. Something so trivial, and I get angry. And I remember that time, people would ask me, so nini nili happened? I'd be so happy to share,
Yeah.
He did, he didn't do, he said, he didn't say. But what I realized was, even after sharing my pain, because that's what most of the time we do, we share our pain, hoping that it will lessen. I found that at the end of the day, when I was seated by myself, I was still feeling the pain. I was still feeling angry. I was still feeling bitter. And I didn't like that feeling.
Yeah.
So for me, the thing changed when I stopped looking at him and I started looking at myself. In terms of, hey, wait a minute. By the way, it takes two to make a marriage. It also takes two to break a marriage.
Yeah.
So Chick, unse akuwa kwa hiyo ndoa peke yake. So how did you show up? What are the things that you did or you didn't do? What are the things that you allowed? What are the things that maybe you should have said? So it was more of a self-reflection journey. And that's where I started. I started asking myself, okay, so how did I show up in that marriage? How do I show up in my own life? And I realized I had been showing up as a bystander. In my own life, I'm waiting for people, to tell me how to do things, to go in this direction. So even every time I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what is right for me. I can't express myself. I have no boundaries. So it was all...
Wow.
Yeah.
And you figured all this after the divorce? Now
Yes.
that's a season of after the divorce.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It's been, oh my goodness, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
Because even up to now, I'm still getting to understand myself. I like saying self-awareness is not a one-time thing. Si ati ndachukua kitabu nisome 2 hours ago, like, I'm the most self-aware person I know. I like looking at it like, the way you peel an onion, there are like layers and layers. There's something that you will always find, you'll always discover about yourself. You never ever get to a point where you say, sasa najijua 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me, during the journey of where now you said, hey, I need to ask myself which part I played. What was your light bulb? Which was your light bulb moment for you to think, I think the work has already begun?
That happened, how do I put it? It was in one question.
Yes.
That I didn't realize how impactful that was.
Okay.
But I can even remember we were seated and I was like, why do I do the things that I do?
Wow.
Yeah, it was very powerful.
Yeah.
And I started being curious about myself. About why do I think about the things that I think? These opinions that I have about this particular topic. Zilitoka wapi? Where did I first hear of them? And for me, I remember it was such an interesting, it's like I was getting to know myself, to date myself. You know, the way when you've met someone new, you want to know, you know, wametoka wapi, how they grew up, where they grew up, the things. It was like now I was taking time to understand myself better.
Were you scared?
Scared, excited, a bit frustrated because I'm like, I think I should know this. You know, how comes I don't know?
Yeah. Wow, I love that. I like to know why people do the things they do. Exactly. And because it's a journey, it's good to understand your journey. And thank you so much for sharing with us. So let's get into business.
Yes, please.
What is imposter syndrome? And as you tell us what it is, share with us what it looks like.
All right. Simply put, imposter syndrome is that feeling where you feel like you're inadequate or you're not capable or you lack confidence to do the things that you're supposed to do. You have a lot of self-doubt. Imposter syndrome and self-doubt are like sisters, you know. You cannot have that feeling of lack of confidence if you're not doubting yourself. And most of the time, maybe just a bit of background before I share an example.
Yes.
Self-doubt and imposter syndrome comes from either insecurities that we got as a child or childhood experiences.
Okay.
And let me give an example, then I'll give my own life example.
Yes.
Say, for example, ukiwa shule, maybe when ulikuna among the when ulikuna anza class from nyuma.
Yeah.
Then maybe going home, you always used to be told, hey, why couldn't you be, you know, sharp like so and so? When ni mjinga, you know.
Dada yako venye ana perform.
Thank you. Then fine, we've grown up now, we are working, then unambio come and lead the team to do this. What we don't realize is most of our thinking is driven by our subconscious mind. Things that happened most of the time between 0 and 7 years. Or if not, something that we call a core memory, an event in your life that happened and it traumatized you, or it can be a good memory or a bad memory. So for imposter, most of the time, it's usually a negative memory. Like, say, for example, kama ulikuwa unaambiwa ni mjinga, then here you're being told, come and lead the team.
You start thinking, me niliambiwa mimi ni mjinga.
Exactly. Yeah. No, utafikiria mimi niliambiwa mimi ni mjinga. Hiyo ni mtu sasa amefika na jiuliza, why am I thinking like this? Most of the time, we just live on autopilot, subconsciously. Yeah. So nitafikiria, mbona siulize nani?
Wow.
Yeah.
You begin to ask, why am I being the one qualified?
Exactly.
Wow.
Then we start shaking. Then we start thinking, I'm not good enough. I don't have the right skills. Instead of saying, okay, I may not be having the right skills, but what skills are needed for me to head this? So let me give now my own life example.
Yes.
I remember my very first job, very many years ago, was I was in this institution, which is now a very famous university. Back then it was a college, and I had done accounting, CPAs, until Section 6.
Yes.
And they were looking for lecturers.
Yes.
And I remember I applied and they picked me. I went for the interview. The interview, I think, took less than 5 minutes or so.
Oh, wow.
It was they just looked at my papers, told me to go to class, teach. I think I taught for like 2 minutes. They were like, okay. If you pass, then we're going to give you a call. That interview, I think, took less than 10 minutes combined.
Yeah.
The class and as in everything.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that was too short, yeah? But I went home. Then they had said, we'll call you within a week. 2 days later, they called me.
Pause that. Pause. 2 days later, they called you. Guys, you want to hear the rest of that story? Oh, please, let us know your thoughts. We are having an amazing, the conscious life coach, Alice Njambi. Today we are talking about self-awareness and how to identify your triggers. She was giving us a nice story, but I have to pause because, we have to pay some bills, guys. We will be right back.
Spice.
I want you to kindly paint us a picture of what a person who lacks self-awareness looks like. Give us maybe 3 examples, if it's possible, so that the listener, aji where the shoe fits, Yeah.
Okay. Maybe let me start with the person looks like you and me.
Okay.
In terms of at face value, ukimwangalia, ukiniangalia, you can't tell. Because until you get to interact with them. Like if you looked at me, you can't tell maybe what probably I'm going through unless I share it with you.
Yes.
And this is now how you can tell. Because ukiangalia mtu tu utaona tu at face value nothing. Then you start looking at their actions. And their thoughts, their feelings, their actions are not aligned. Perfect, something that we've even adapted as Kenyans, which is the height of unconsciousness. No, kwani jana kuliendaje?
Yep.
We even have a song, a whole song that we jam to.
Na nawaona watu wenye wataamka kesho waanze kujiuliza hizo maswali. I hope you're listening.
And perfect, this is the long weekend, yeah? Watu wanaenda sherehe, drinks.
They don't care. They
exactly.
don't care. In fact, I had somebody say, mi hata ukinitumia email saa hii, kindly note.
Thank you.
Until Tuesday.
Thank you.
Awajali?
And then Tuesday comes, the first thing someone is asking themselves, but I see nilikuwa na do kwa ATM. Sherehe, what happened? Oh my goodness, I hooked up with so and so. I don't even like them, but it was in the spirit of
Sherehe.
Yeah, I didn't take the time to honor myself. What do I want? No. Or even just making conscious choices. You know what? By the way, it's a long weekend. I'm feeling lonely. I'm going to hook up with someone that I don't even like as much because I do not want to stay by myself. I'm going to spend money that I do not even have. Then come Tuesday, I'm going to regret my choices. Come Tuesday, I will be begging people for, fare.
To make it to the rest of the month.
Yes. And when I make that choice, from a point of consciousness, I'm making a conscious choice. Your Tuesday nikikuwa na kwamba do, and you're telling me I don't have. I won't start thinking, Karigo yani, squeeze yani, she's not even a good friend. She can't come through for me. I'll be saying, by the way, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I went for that weekend. I knew if we sat and thought about the things that we are going to do between now and Monday, would we really do them? Yeah, if we knew by the part of this.
Even right now, I'm thinking of the choice I made after the show. I'm like, what I think twice. Kesho bado niko job. Thank you, Njambi.
So it's with, such simple, and then now coming back as an individual. Because self-awareness is not even about other people. It's me nijijue. No, it's for me to understand how do my thoughts influence my feelings? And how do these two influence my actions? Are my thoughts and feelings aligned with my choices? Do I choose my choices or am I a victim? Kazi yangu usema, by the way, either serikali saidia, ama karigo nisaidia, ama, I'm always seeking help.
Yeah.
I'm always taking the poor me mentality.
Yeah.
You know what? It's the way I was raised. Mliraisiwa na do. Sisi kwetu, we suffered. I struggled.
Yeah.
And then we're not thinking, okay, fine. I might have suffered. I might have struggled, but I have a choice. Yeah. I have a choice to be different. Yeah. I have a choice to do different.
Yeah.
But what does different look like for me?
So then how do we differentiate self-awareness and emotional intelligence?
Okay. Here's the thing, yeah? Emotional intelligence is the main umbrella. Self-awareness is the foundation. Actually, let me just put it this way. When it comes to emotional intelligence, which is just understanding our own emotions and managing them in a way that will help us instead of blocking us. That's emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is the foundation. Emotional intelligence is divided into two parts. The first part has to do with me as the individual. That's self-awareness and self-management.
Okay.
Then the second part has to do with how I interact with others. That's social awareness and social management. So back to your question, self-awareness is the foundation. How can I manage my own emotions if I don't even understand myself? If I don't even know myself? How will I understand you kama mimi mwenye hata? How will I understand your emotions if I don't understand my own?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me to achieve emotional intelligence, I first have to be aware of my own emotions
Yes.
and my own feelings.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow, great.
Exactly.
So now then paint us a picture of what we should do. I'm seated here and I'm having so many negative thoughts in my head. How do I deal with them? I wake up every day, and when I want to achieve something, I want to achieve a goal, I'm having negative thoughts
Okay.
in like less than a minute.
All right. Let me put this. Most of the time, our negative thoughts come from social conditioning. You know, I found this. Please, I have to add this. You know, the dictionary has only 3,000 positive words to describe our feelings and 26,000 words to describe our negative feelings.
Wow.
Yes. So it just tells you what we talk about most of the time. Things I don't want, things I don't like, things that I don't feel like. That's why we keep on having negative thoughts, because we are always coming from that point. And here's the thing. A negative thought is just a thought. It's just a thought, guys. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you can think one thought, you can think another thought.
Wow.
Yes.
Is
you
it
can
just that simple?
Yes, it's that simple.
It's not, it doesn't need to be so deep.
Hakuna kizungumo babo.
I was ready to. This is one of the things I personally struggle with. Negative thoughts, negative thoughts, negative
Yes,
thoughts.
yes.
And it's not like there's anything negative happening in your life. You just find like a negative thought creeping up here.
Yes.
So what you're saying is I just need to simply make the choice and say, no negative thoughts.
Yes.
Let me have positive thoughts.
Yes.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I'm going to take that beyond words. Alice Njambi, the conscious life coach.
Spice.
Yeah. She or he could have told herself, I'm unlovable. You know, or maybe when the violence is happening and I have kujificha, so I can't, no one can protect me. The adults in my life when I was young, you know, they couldn't protect me. So I have to protect myself, you know. Or maybe if I was good enough, then they wouldn't have done that. Because, you know, as kids, we tell ourselves so many things, yeah, that are false. So it's for her to go back and identify, or for him to go back and identify what are the self-limiting beliefs that came with that story. Because that's a story. But
Wow.
then everything in our lives is a story that we told ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, an event happened, I told myself I'm not good enough. So it's for me to go back and question that story, you know.
Yeah.
So is that true? Is that so? Then if I wanted to change the story, what story would I have to tell myself?
Yeah.
Then change the story to what you want to tell yourself. And the thing about low self-esteem, it's because these are thoughts we've kept, what you're mentioning earlier, negative thoughts. We've kept on repeating. The thing about now reprogramming our minds, yeah, we do the same thing through repetition.
Yes.
That's how we learned. You know, we learned ABCD when we were kids, and still today, bado ukiniuliza ABCD, I can tell you because of repetition. We'd go to class and learn every day. So the same thing when it comes to reprogramming our minds, you know, it's the same thing, and just repeating. Let me give an example.
Yes.
For the longest time, I had low self-esteem issues, and I had a poor self-image. Why? Because when we were kids, tulikuwa na hii mchongoano. And my own family, and it was all in good jest, yeah? They'd tell me, you have piano legs. You know how a piano looks? Mwili ni kubwa alafu, we have Kikuyu legs. Alafu tumiguu ni tudogo.
Yeah.
And they'd all laugh, you know, and point. And we were all looking for someone's insecurities to point at them before they point at yours. And I remember, I didn't know, but it affected me. I didn't know. And I noted now when I was doing my own self-awareness journey, is all my dresses, by the way, are long dresses.
Hiya.
Yes. And then I was thinking, oh, I'm such a conservative person. Kumbe, what I was doing subconsciously was hiding my legs. Wow. Because sinikuwa nachekela nikuwa mtoi.
Yeah.
Why do I want people to laugh at me as an adult?
Yeah. Hello, Spice.
Hello, habari zenu.
Mzuri sana.
Nilikuwa nataka kuuliza Njambi iwapo yeye pia katika hali ya ndoa yake, yeye pia alichangia percentage fulani kwa kuvunjika kwa ndoa yake, au ni alikipata tu imevunjika. Na if kama alichangia, ana regret au regret. Asante sana, ni Steve from Eldoret.
Asante sana. So you used to cover up your...
Yes.
And you thought it was coming from conservation.
I was thinking, oh,
and you're
I'm such
not.
a good
Yeah.
Christian, conservative.
Yeah.
Until I started asking myself, Because it was very simple questions. Why do I even dress like this? Where did this first come from?
Yeah.
And it hit me, but I've always been dressing like that because I'm subconsciously covering,
And it's great you've brought that up, because more often than not, we don't even understand how our subconscious is playing on the things that we do. So please answer this gentleman. Kondoya yako. Since we are talking about self-awareness, hey, let's answer here.
Okay.
And let's be honest.
Yes. Nothing but 100%
Yes.
honesty. And yes, I realized later, nitachanganyisha Swahili na Kizungu. I realized later that pia mimi vile tu nilisema, when I started, I also had taken a very huge. There are things that I should have done, I didn't do. There are things that I thought, in fact, if you'd have asked me that back then, ningekwambia mi ndio wife material. Like, I please, Proverbs 31 woman.
Yeah.
It is I and I am her. Until I realized, hey, chick, the woman you have in your head and the woman that you are, oh my God.
They are two totally different
Exactly.
people. Did you at one point think that, hey, have I been a fraud all this time?
Yes. I went through that whole process. I went just to, to answer the listener. I went through that whole process. I actually looked, what did I do or what didn't I do?
Yeah.
I noted the things that my ex wanted from me that I wasn't able to deliver. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was not in that mental state. And I remember at some point, I actually did apologize much later.
Oh, wow.
Of course, he never understood. Huh? What are you talking about?
You apologize?
Yes, I apologize. I said, you know what? For how I showed up. Yeah. For the things that, all those shenanigans that were, I forgive you and I ask for your forgiveness. As in this, siku baby, na naomba pia mimi, usinibebe. Anything that nilifanya nikakukosea, please
Is that
forgive
emotional
me.
intelligence?
Yes, it is. Though at that point, I didn't even know. It was just coming from a deep sense of reflection. And you're right, it is, because self-awareness is part of emotional intelligence.
So that's an example of emotional. Because we hear people who say they can
learning how
Mimi
to express
niseme
yourself.
I'm sorry. Mimi, do you know what he did to me? Do you know what she did to me? Why would I apologize? Sawa, I played a part. And when I asked emotional intelligence, that is how I wanted you to play it. Because more often than not, an apology is knowing how to deal with the emotions.
Exactly.
And we don't know how to deal with our emotions.
Yeah.
I being one of them. So tell me, how should I stay grounded when I feel overwhelmed with emotions?
All right. That's a good... can I finish answering? Just 20 seconds.
Please. Yes.
He asked whether I have any regrets.
Regrets, yeah.
And I have none. I have none because when I look back, everything has led me to this point. If that had not happened, if I had not gone through, the pain and frustrations and the awareness of, I wouldn't be seated here. My own coaching, my life purpose was born out of that. I keep on saying my pain turned into my passion and my passion turned into profit. So do I have any regrets?
No.
Absolutely none.
You don't think, you don't feel like if you time would go back, you'd do things differently?
No.
Okay, great. So how do I manage being overwhelmed? What do I do when I'm overwhelmed?
Let me give a very practical example. It takes, you've ever had people saying, "Bethe sikujua chenye nafanya." As in, I wasn't thinking. And that's because it is true. Every time we are engulfed by emotions, we don't think. Why? Because the way emotions, how do I put this? The way emotions reach our brain, they first reach the emotional part of the brain first.
Yeah.
Then it takes between 5 and 6 seconds peke yake for the data to reach the rational part of the brain. What I'm saying is it takes between 5 to 6 seconds for you to calm down.
Yeah.
So what I like advising is breathe. Take deep breath. Una feel too my emotions in there's anger coming up, you want to smash something.
Yeah.
And it has to be something that you have to keep on practicing because it doesn't come automatically.
Yeah.
So when you feel like you're being engulfed, just breathe. Before you say something that you're going to regret later. Because I used to do that. You know, most of us just unasikia tu umekuwa triggered.
Verbal diarrhea.
Exactly. Lack of emotional intelligence.
By the way, is it lack of emotional intelligence?
Yes.
It's not me expressing my feelings, Njambi.
No.
Njambi, you don't know how I'm feeling. Njambi, you don't know. Ujui.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with you expressing your feelings, but you should express them in a healthy manner.
Okay.
Let me give an example.
Please do.
There's nothing wrong with being angry at your boss, yeah? But there's everything wrong with you insulting the boss.
Yeah.
So how you expressing
And the
yourself?
boss insulting me.
Exactly. Yeah, it goes way, yeah. It goes two ways. New kweli.
I just had to say that. Because it can go both ways.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
It's two-way traffic.
Yeah.
So it's just understanding. So it's good. Please express yourself. But how are you expressing yourself? It's good to have your own, freedom. But your freedom doesn't mean you step on other people's, freedom and rights as well. Yeah.
We have a question from the Spice FM fans group. They're listening in. They're like, this conversation is deep. Yeah, it's deep, guys. Adult KE, now let me ask you, Njambi, how do you deal with emotional abuse by letting go of the system, someone you love so much but truly doesn't serve you in right terms of your psychological balance? It's more of narcissistic. How do you untie yourself from that emotional bondage?
Okay. That's a good question. And I love that they've mentioned you untie yourself, you remove yourself from that situation. But most of the time we still end up struggling because maybe umejitoa physically, but still emotionally you're still carrying that person. Emotionally, someone said something to you and they're mentioning, narcissistic people will just insult you and make you feel small. Why? Because they are working on they just want to finish you, to diminish you, to just diminish such that utenda wapi. When you have low self-esteem,
I'm all you got.
Exactly. I'm doing you a favor by being with you. Where will you go with those kind of? So it's just understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And I love saying this. It's never about the other person. Because in this conversation, we always say, that the person, my partner is narcissistic. But I keep on saying, there's a reason why you are matching with that partner.
Yeah.
There's something in you that is matching with them. Because why do you allow them? Why do you allow them to abuse you? And it could be because I don't know how to express myself. I don't know how to set boundaries. So how do I deal with this? Which is part of learning how to deal with emotional abuse. And it goes back to what we were talking about, inner child issues. You know what? This happened. I have trust wounds. I have abandonment wounds. I have rejection wounds. And this is how they're playing in my relationship. So for me, when I understand that, then I understand I have to heal myself. I have to heal myself first. And when I heal myself, even this match I have with this narcissistic person,
Yes.
itakuwa disconnected because they won't.
Yeah. Njambi, I'm sure you followed over the weekend of this Nigerian gospel artist who passed away. Why don't we had a conversation on Monday, and the question I was asking is, why do we stay in toxic, unhealthy relationships? Why?
Can I answer out of my own experience?
Yes, please.
And something that I actually thought about when I saw her story.
Yeah.
And I could see herself. I mean, I could
You
see
see
myself
in her.
In her. And I was thinking, my God, God is so gracious because I was this close. Why do we stay? Because speaking now from experience, I was scared. Watu watasema nini? Nitaambia watu nini? When I come out of here, I'm in heels, I go for meetings, I power woman, I look like I have everything together. How do I tell them that I can't manage my home? How do I tell them that my home is in shambles, it's splitting, it's just, things are all over the place. How do I tell them our relationship is so toxic that I don't even have peace of mind? Especially when now ilikuwa inakuja kuisha. I couldn't even sleep. And I remember, just thinking back, I remember the day before I left, I just remember praying and telling God, you know what, God, if I leave this house, with my bones intact, because I knew, hapa kwenye tumefika kwenye tunaelekea bedhe, umsi akiniguza, I'll end up in hospital or I'll end up dead. And I remember telling God, you know what, I can't do this anymore. there had not been any violence, but it's like the emotional climate at home was just getting,
Yes.
higher and higher. And that was like the last night, yeah? And maybe just to mention what opened my eyes, because we are scared. We stay because we are scared. We stay because we are afraid. Now what will people say? We stay because, especially now for Osinachi, imagine she goes and akishika mic hivi, kila mtu ako.
Yeah. And who was her husband?
Thank you. So it's that I want to show up for society, that I am not showing up. I'm not honoring myself. I'm putting other people first, yeah? And I remember for me, I realized also I was afraid of being lonely.
Okay.
I was like, ata afadhali hii at least. And then there's that also idea of you're losing identity. It feels so nice when you're standing in front of a crowd afu na introduce you as Mrs. So-and-so. And then me thinking, oh my God, nitakuwa na introduce you as the divorcee. The people don't want to associate with you. There's a lot of stigma.
Yeah.
Friends start being told by their spouses, but they stop. Huyo single mothers usiassociate now. Amevunja ndoa, atavunja ndoa yako pia. It's just that stigma and what will people say.
Yeah.
And I remember for me to get out of that, I remember I don't know if I can say this online. I just said, F it. F everybody. I am choosing me. But it takes a lot of courage. I keep on saying, I understand anyone who's in that situation, because someone looking in from outside, be like, kwani wewe uoni unachapangwa kila siku, or you emotionally abuse, your psychological, so you just go. People don't understand that it is so deeply rooted, yeah? And if this person even wakes up and leaves, believe me, they'll go back, or they're going to meet a person who's just like this other person. So it's never about just waking up and living physically. Of course, waking up and living physically helps,
yes,
if you're in physical danger.
Yes.
But you have to do your work. You have to do your inner work. What we were talking about earlier, you have to learn, why do you allow emotional abuse? And sometimes we even accept this because that's what we feel, maybe I'm worthy of that, yeah?
Yeah.
So for me to change that, I have to ask myself, I have to reprogram my mind and keep on affirming I'm worthy of more. I remember telling myself back then, okay, I know marriages are difficult, but imagine they shouldn't be that. They shouldn't be like this, as in there's something wrong. There's something amiss.
Yeah.
But even for me to get to that point where I could honestly just even acceptance, there's something wrong here, it took a lot of courage. But let me tell you from experience, sasa courage ya kuchukua vitu upack. Oh my God. And then when you do it and then you discover, okay. Kumbe, the thoughts that we have in our heads are heavier.
Yeah.
And the experiences, the imaginations that we are thinking are usually worse than the action.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are